Yo, 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 what's up, what's up, what's up? Give up the ruck and hello to my fellow revolutionaries. I wonder why the chat is coming up like that. 4AS. It's interesting. Let me just fix that so you can see it properly before I continue. See if I can fix that. Yeah, that's weird. Hope it's not like that in the other scene too. Yeah, it is. Interesting. Hopefully that doesn't stop the chat from coming up at all. Hopefully you can see that properly. 4IS. Okay, so let's start again, shall we? Hello, my fellow revolutionaries. And if that is you coming from Australia, then I'm going to say happy Monday, the start of your working week. So my heart goes out to all you proletarians out there. So I hope you're ready for another wonderful series of days where you exchange your labor power for some exchange value so you can continue to operate within the capitalist system. And if you just had a weekend and actually enjoyed your weekend, I hope it was a good one, because you know what, you deserved it. And even if you particularly don't deserve it, there are other working people like you fought hard to get it, and they probably deserved it, and they probably would have liked to enjoy it. So make sure you do the right thing and you observe this very sacred time in the working calendar. It's important for us to not forget where all this sort of stuff comes from. I think that is actually a big running theme on this channel and with our explorations generally, is that if we don't learn from history and remember, then the future looks pretty bleak. And I think the capitalist class and the ruling elite generally bank on the fact that we don't have a good memory of history, or they whitewash history or erase it even. So we forget where we've come from and what really is valuable to us as a working class, but as humans more generally. And that's like pretty much the theme of Orwell's 1984. It's basically controlling history and rewriting the past to control the future, really. Especially if they are about means of a dozen eggs in a trench coat. That was pretty good one, I must admit. The Tharn's onto something there. Must admit. Yeah, Mark Andreessen, what a interesting looking character. Definitely wouldn't put past the fact that he may be an alien. And then that goes into more of the dark enlightenment kind of philosophy, where you have people like Nick Land, who really truly believe that capitalism is an actual force of nature, like a literal force of nature, as opposed to a force unleashed by mankind. It is a force unto of itself. It's alien, and it's looking for a host. It's found a human host, and it will eventually use us to produce artificial intelligence, so it can take that as a more suitable host and then dominate the entire universe from there, which was pretty wild and wacky stuff. But like, as someone who likes to critically analyze capitalism, God, that's a great analysis of the situation. Like, it really speaks to a lot of things. Like the Marxist in me is frothing when they hear a way of explaining capitalism like that, because it just seems like capitalism, like it's like Das Kapital if it was a science fiction novel. It's pretty hectic. Let's be honest, it's very hectic. So anyway, in saying all of that, today, what are we doing? What are we looking at? Well, something came up in my feed recently with regards to an OpenAI mega data center that is being built currently in Texas. And so, we talk a lot about, the techno-feudalists, the surveillance capitalists, the dark enlightenment, the tech authoritarian takeover, and their kind of plan to run society in their own interests, But like, what is that built on the back of? And like in the AI age, so in the day of the AI revolution, that empire, those techno-feudal empires, will be built on the back of very particular types of infrastructure. And this is it. This is what we're going to look at today. The means of production of the techno-feudalist. That's what we're looking at today. Stephen said, hey, welcome. Welcome, my fellow revolutionary. And I'm glad you can make it for a Monday stream. Haven't seen you commenting in the streams for a while, so I'm glad that you were able to make it, unless you've just been kind of watching in the background like many people, many working people do. They like to switch on and have a listen in the background as they sell their labor power to the capitalist class. So welcome, and I hope you had a good weekend. Today, as you might have caught my little introductory comments there, we're going to be looking at this bad boy here. Okay, look at that epic set of structures there, heavily under construction, spanning across hectares, let's say. In the American sense, I think they call it acres. I think they use acres, the Americans. Morning all, it is the roll call. Indoctrinate Nathan is in the house. Hello, Mr. Two Brother, just out there doing my best, as are we all, my friend, as are we all. But yes, welcome, Indoctrinate Nathan. I'm glad to see you've still got that fully sick Friday name rocking there. I love it. And like, yeah, look at this expanse of data center infrastructure. And like, as we've been speaking about for a couple of months now, at least, there was, I think, a really important point in Trump's inauguration was, one, the fact that he had summoned the tech bros to his inauguration and brought along the biggest tech bros out there. So Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, and Elon Musk obviously was there. And the CEO of Google, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, they were all there to pay fealty and homage to Trump as became the dictator of the citadel of world capitalism, the imperial core. Also, the Albo Manchurian candidate meme is so good. Yeah, and that's the profile picture I've noticed. Yeah, as he was inaugurated the next day, so like Trump was doing, if you remember, this is only a couple of weeks ago, NP Life Apologist, LOL, oh, come on. I'm not sure what you're referring to with the oh, come on there, but if you'd like to enlighten us, by all means. Yeah, Trump had them there at his inauguration the next day. Like he was like churning out executive orders and like doing press conferences. Like he does them like prolifically anyway, but like in the, day number one of his presidency, basically his time in office. And he mentioned Project Stargate. So Project Stargate, if you recall, if you don't, was a $500 billion announcement of investment from outside capitalists into America and like American capitalists as well, to commit to, giving hundreds of billions of dollars. Oh, it's Home Automation Lab as well. Look, everyone's doing the roll call this morning. Welcome. And today we are dipping into your world again, directly, not indirectly, by just talking about techno-feudalists and all that sort of stuff. But we're going to be looking at the beast or the mechanism that feeds the global AI arms race. And this is it. This is what it looks like. And this is a Texan example of what it looks like. But he announced Project Stargate. Yes, like I said, he was not co-opting. That's probably not the right word. He was gathering together large-scale tech capitalists to invest hundreds of billions of dollars and commit to producing infrastructure and technology investment in the United States to ensure the AI race and the AI revolution, so-called, is done in in America on US soil. Also, acre is a land measure. An acre is 4,000 square meters, 2.4 acres per hectare. Most countries use it, and square meters. Yes. And like I'm used to using hectares. But like, these data centers are absolutely gargantuan, like absolutely huge and enormous, expansive projects in order to feed the AI machine. NP Life apologies. A while back, someone said the largest computer they called the beast was in Belgium. There you go. Well, apparently not anymore. Not with this type of stuff, I'd say. We use hectares more because our land is that big. Yeah. Yeah, yes. Yeah, there's a lot of expanse in regional Australia. So, anyway, this is what we're going to get. This is what we're going to get as a result of Trump putting so much faith in the techno-feudalists. We're going to get means of production like this. And so for those of you who aren't across the term means of production is the stuff in the economy controlled by the capitalist class for them to produce value, or, let's be honest, just so they can produce profit to keep themselves alive. And this is how capital keeps itself reproducing and expanding, very important, and expanding by developing the means of production. And so like going from, computers in the 70s, then to the 90s, then to these things, the means of production, the productive forces have absolutely gone outrageous. They've gone absolutely nuts. Yes, there we go. I was doing the roll call and I was like, you know what? Ollie Atlas normally is here for the roll call. And here he is. Thank you, Ollie Atlas. Nice to see you. If you'd like a refresher, you can view our podcast. Hint, hint, plug, plug. Yes, we actually recently talked about the means of production and seizing the means of production. More importantly, I think it was a robust discussion. For anyone kind of speculating on whether it's necessary to seize the means of production anymore, if that is some archaic 20th century notion of socialism, I would say no. I would say in the face of this stuff, it is actually more prominent than ever to seize the means of production, because like this stuff, what we're looking at here is a very particular development of capital, or the capitalistic mode of production. Stargate, as in all the actors, stars, will now be AI. well, like it's a bit like that, isn't it? Like, when they sit around naming this stuff, like, like they really called it Project Stargate. Like, they're like the science fiction themes and like, nods to science fiction culture is just so on the nose. Like, these people are not subtle at all. And like, I guess you don't have to be subtle. And like, maybe if you're Gen Alpha or something like that, when someone says Stargate, that's the first time you've ever heard of it. So like, you're just like, oh, well, isn't that an interesting name? But like, for all us oldies that can remember what Stargate is a reference to, then like, this stuff, it sounds pretty fucking lame. Can I just say, like attracting $500 billion, you're basically going to redefine the way that the global economy runs and like global politics runs, and you're calling it something like Stargate. But like, whatever, if that's as deep as they can get, then so be it. I bet it's so funny. I bet there are also people saying wokeism is out of control. Either art imitates life or the other way around. Yeah, pretty much. Not understanding the original source material is woke as fuck. So yeah, means of production. The means of production are developing in this way. And so I thought, like, if we're going to be talking about techno-feudalists all the time and all that type of stuff, like, let's go ahead and look at their bad boys. Like, what does it actually look like? We've all had a crack and open up, ChatGPT or something like that. We know what it looks like on a computer interface. But like, what's behind ChatGPT? It's one of these absolutely fuck off industrial plants where it is void of human life almost. And this is like an important point that I want to make about this stuff, and I want you to consider this. Like, this is going to get like nerdy Marxist, but like I wrote this note because I wanted to deal with this concept while we were looking at this, and I want you to put this in your mind while we are thinking, or we're watching this video, this documentary, whatever the hell you want to call it. That you got to think of the means of production have completely changed in a capitalist sense. Like, a lot of the time when you hear people try to explain what capitalism is to someone, or they go on and try and debate, MysterE 26th of May 2025. I wonder what I'm going to be quoted as here, saying, "Put this thought in your mind's eye." Like, when you try to like speak to someone about capitalism and explain what it is, or like if you're one of those college kids lining up to debate Ben Shapiro in a hall somewhere, and he's like, "Oh yeah, who like works in a factory anyway," and like diminishes your understanding and your explanation of capitalism. We do have outdated and outmoded ways of describing what capitalism is. Like, if you ask someone like a Marxist or an anti-capitalist or a socialist what capitalism is, they'll start and they say, "Well, if I worked in a pencil factory and I made pencils and I produce all the pencils, it's my surplus labor that goes into the pencils, and the capitalist steals that from me." And like, no one really relates to that, because in the Western world and advanced economies, no one works in a pencil factory anymore. But like, how you have to think of factories now, like these things. Okay, so this is a factory where it is full of automated systems and robots and technology doing its own thing. These are basically large shoeboxes, like really, really high-tech shoeboxes, where like all these people come together to erect shoeboxes that are full of machines doing all of the laboring. Humans don't do laboring anymore inside factories, in industrial settings. But where humans do add value is, look at all the cars and look at on the periphery of this thing. It's absolutely alive with humans scampering around, doing odd jobs, filling in the gaps, and making these huge shoeboxes for these computers to live inside and power the digital world that we all live in. So the humans don't make don't work on means of production in a factory setting to make like shoes and stuff like that anymore, or like computers. That's all automated. The humans make the means of production primarily now. So before, in like, the Industrial Revolution in Marx's time, he was watching, like he was going to Engels' father's factory and he was watching humans make shit, like make clothes that then went onto market and was bought by other humans. But like, there is no production happening inside these massive shoeboxes filled with computers. The only people that are involved in this are the people really that are making these huge, expansive shoeboxes. So humans now might not really even be involved in value production, like producing instant consumer goods, but they're probably more involved in the building of the means of production themselves. So even if it's not physical, so like construction workers, which is basically what I'm talking about, the construction workers are the ones that are producing the surplus value that goes into making these machines, which makes all the value for the capitalists. Like, even in that sense, maybe that's not all the whole case. Like, there are all these people at OpenAI, all these engineers, these computer scientists, these mathematicians that basically sell their labor power to Sam Altman, and their surplus value produces OpenAI and ChatGPT that then goes on to make them value. So they're not like every day they're producing ChatGPT. They might like write some new code for it, and then once that code is assumed into the machine, that's it. But they've produced surplus value, and they're doing it by working on means of production as opposed to producing direct articles of consumption. And so, like, if you wanted to update the way that you kind of use your vocabulary and talk to people about capitalism in an advanced country anyway, like America or something like that, you could say, like, yeah, okay, it's not like a traditional factory where everyone's, their surplus labor is producing the t-shirt that you own, like kind of thing. Because most people, if you're producing a shirt in America, which is probably unlikely, that would just be done by a machine. Like a car, that would probably just be done by a machine or something like that, with humans just minding the machines and pressing buttons. But like, if you really want to know where the surplus value comes from in a situation like this, what we're staring at right now, it's all those little humans scrambling around right now trying to put this data center up. They're trying to construct it, and then there'll be a few humans that walk around here on a daily basis managing the complex and making sure it runs efficiently. And those people will be adding some surplus value to that as well. But for the most part, these huge, expansive warehouses will not be housing humans that make value anymore. They're just going to be housing machines. And those machines have already had somebody else produce them that has added their surplus value into them. So you got to detach now this idea that these factories produce value or produce surplus value. The surplus value has already been put into them. They are the product. These boxes, these factories, this industry is the product. It's not a producer of surplus value. It's a new way of looking at this stuff. NP Life Apologist says, or do they need to understand the source material, but they deliberately change it? We've all seen criminals try to play dumb, winking face. Ah, yes, ultimate conservative conundrum. Are they lying or ignorant? The big club we're not in, and they do not really care what we think. I hope I'm wrong. Stephen said, AI still needs a cleaner. Interesting. Yeah, and like there will be people that are going into these data centers and maintaining them. And so like there will be some surplus value produced in that regard, but for the most part, these things, which is different to the traditional way that we argue about capitalism, is not going to be filled with people in there producing surplus value for extraction. Memes of production. That's pretty good, actually. I wish I'd thought of that. It's weird how they think there's nothing else better to do. 4AS, NP Life Apologist, that's why we say drop your propaganda in the Discord, because we produce daily memes of production. I think there's a new server name, can I just say? If anyone's listening to this and they want to add something new to the Discord, I think we should change that one to memes of production. Where is that, by the way? Meme Central? I think I might have to rename this. That's so good. Look, I'm doing it. I'm doing it now. I don't care. I'm crazy. There it is. Memes of production, ladies and gentlemen. Home Automation Lab. The DCs I've worked in were run by 2 or 3 staff. Tenants installed gear and managed it remotely. When I've been on site, it's always empty, just me. Isn't that crazy? Like, this is the way. Like, and see, like, you're not, in that sense, you're relating to this huge, expansive computer, this cluster, this rows and rows of thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of microchips and these things. It's just like one big tool. Think of it like one big hammer or circular saw or something like that, and like you're just going in there and just making sure it's it's still working properly. It's just a big tool, and it's not producing value in the sense that it that humans are working on it to produce surplus value that can be extracted by capital. This is just a big tool that feeds value to like places all around the world remotely. Indoctrination. It's legit the end of Willy Wonka, the 2000s one, where Charlie's dad ends up working maintenance on the machines that replaces him and everyone else in the factory. One person where 100 were before. Yes, and this is the idea of the falling rate of profit and the increasing of the productivity of labor, which is actually that the machines become so complex and so advanced that, yes, Before you needed 100 people to work at the machines to produce the same amount of output, and now you need one person manning a whole bunch of machines to produce the exact same amount of output, and like much cheaper labor costs, but less surplus value extraction. Less surplus of value extraction means generally less profit in the totality, as opposed to like for that individual capitalist. Depends. It's all relative, really. Okay, I'll try the Discord later and drop my propaganda, but you should so at least look at the propaganda. If you ignore it, my precious time is wasted. One big tool. Yeah, it's been like that for a good amount of time. I worked for an automation company. Two of us managed 6,000 devices. That would have been managed by a team of 30, maybe more. In 2019. That's crazy. And see how rapid this style of means of production changes. Like, and that is another point I think that Marx makes very well in the Grundrisse, is this like concept that as capital advances, it becomes more capital intensive. So it requires more money input to produce more technically sophisticated means of production. So you have less people because the machine is doing all of this work that used to be done by humans, but you need more money up front to be able to produce these really technical and sophisticated machines, to reduce and get rid of laborers. So like as a result of reducing the amount of workers that you need to do something, you produce more and more technical and advanced machines, and those advanced machines need more money up front. And so like in order to stay ahead in the business world, you need to have more money up front to be able to invest and to create this crazy technology that just replaces workers anyway. And so as a result of that complex, that inverse relationship, you have capital concentrating in fewer and fewer hands, fewer and fewer capitalists' hands, because like there's fewer and fewer people that can afford to do shit like this. Like how many capitalists out there can like spend like billions and billions of dollars making their own data centers on this scale to produce artificial intelligence? There's not many. You got Microsoft, you got Amazon can fund this type of stuff. You got Meta that can fund this type of stuff. You've got Elon Musk that can fund this type of stuff. Like it's very difficult for even capitalists to get in on this game. So like that's what I was saying at the start. Like Trump, like one of the first things he announced was his big deal to ensure hundreds of billions of dollars of investment comes to America on American soil, and not goes to other parts of the world. So they develop data centers and digital infrastructure in other countries to help birth the AI revolution. They want it on American soil because this really is the new in Cold War, people. This is the new Cold War, and it is happening right now, whether we know it or not. Like the thing about the other Cold War is you knew exactly what was going on for the most part. Because, like, you know, death was imminent. Like, if the nuclear bomb came kind of thing, like, at least you knew what was happening. And there were constant reports about, like, you know, the missiles being, like, you know, parked along national boundaries and pointed in certain directions. And so there was an understanding of what was going on with the Cold War. But this Cold War is like, it's held by a few capitalists, not by the states themselves. The states and the capitalists are working together, don't get me wrong, but like, you know, it is really this capitalist class here that is controlling this Cold War, and this Cold War between, you know, the Americans and China. This is winner takes all stuff. You know, the general capitalist rhetoric, zero-sum game shit. Okay, like if America wins the AI arms race and they get general artificial intelligence or super intelligence, whoever gets that shit first will dominate the next, who knows, will dominate the next epoch of human history. It's said like the stakes are huge. This is not like making the atomic bomb, where like anyone with a physicist really could have figured out like how to do that shit. Okay, this is different to that. Like, you didn't need countries that were too sophisticated, and like maybe in the future the technology will become cheaper. That's a tendency in capitalism as well. So other people would be able to develop their own AI. But at the moment, this is what you need to be in the AI game. You need hundreds of billions of dollars of investment and ridiculously large expanses of AI infrastructure, data centers. And this is what we're looking at today. There was a TikTok trend where people were pointing out how many hours of labor that it took to buy a certain product, then a response from a worker in a factory of how many of that item they make in an hour. That's crazy. I missed that trend. Home Automation Lab. I've built a POC system that uses AI to take a junior engineer's work from 1 week into 1 hour. Not joking, if that. Whoa. That's crazy. This is why I'm seriously worried. Even people in tech are going to lose. Like, there's going to be a lot of people that lose. The people that aren't going to lose are like all these people, like up front anyway, all these people scampering around the construction side at the moment. Like, this is the world where AI or automated systems is dragging behind massively, is in like the physical realm, in construction, in the trades, like anything where you use your like massive amounts of your brain power, and there's massive amounts of categorization, administration, and things like that. So like a lot of paperwork, like that stuff is gone, man. That stuff is gone. Anything that you can put into a series and a chain in like an office setting, that stuff is very, very, very much under threat, I find. And so like, isn't it funny? Like 10, 20 years ago when they were speaking about the AI revolution that was coming, it was all this like blue collar work gone, then everything else after that. But it's the complete reverse. They got it completely wrong. Usually it was hundreds of them an hour made versus half a day labor to buy. Yeah, interesting. NP Life Apologist. It's kind of scary. There's too much work for humans to do. AI can't do everything, but we've become lazy as fuck. Question mark. But we've become lazy as fuck. That's a great doco on. There's a great doco on YouTube about automatons. Can't find it, but found a segment. The writer automation gives you an idea. Ollie Atlas. The current Cold War is capitalism versus democracy versus dictatorship versus communism. Interesting. Capitalism v democracy versus dictatorship versus communism. Life Apologist. Can the AI replace silly paywalls for Bloomberg? I can't even read online news anymore. Horrible. Home automation. I kid. ... Yeah, look, everyone, like, people are going to lose out big time on this one, but like, it really depends on this as well. Like, if they really want to replace, like, you know, scores, hundreds, thousands of workers out there, they're going to have more of this shit. They're going to need the tools to be able to fund the replacement of large swathes of human labor power. They'll need large swathes of energy and data centers to process all of the information of all those companies and all those parts of the economy now that are going to demand this AI come in and replace all of these people. So like, this will come at a huge cost, and it'll just be another cost for business, and it'll be another one of those classic capitalistic contradictions where the costs of business will go up. And so the cost of the services they provide will go up to absorb the AI costs, and then they'll replace labor, and so there'll be less people in the economy that have money to pay for the services that they provide, and then there'll be some type of economic crisis as a result of that, and then everyone will be scratching their head. It's like, oh fuck, what happened? Like, kind of thing. Maybe there's a lack of money supply, or maybe it's this, and maybe it's that. That's what all the bourgeois economists will say. And then like, people with somewhat of a Marxist understanding of where the economy works is just like, well, you just replaced lots of people that used to have work and disposable incomes, so good luck. Look, my brain hurts. I'm about ready to have a robot take my, well, you know, it may happen. It may happen. But like, this is the upside of all this sort of stuff. Is if they develop all of this technology and they truly replace humans and free us up from kind of the drudgery of work that just needs to be done as a requirement of society, as opposed to it adding any value to the individual because the individual has chosen to do that. If AI can replace all of that type of labor and free us up to do the things that we wish to do, to produce the value that we wish to produce and contribute to society, then bring on that world. Bring on that world. But like, capital is the type of world that would be able to deliver us that, because the force of capital is incredible. The force of capital does shit like this. Like, look at that. Look at that. So I'll shut up now because I've been speaking for like half an hour. But like, let's look at this monolithic beast. And like, the drill. Stop in the comments if you want to say something or if you have some crazy observation. And like, I'll do my best, but like, I can't resist sometimes. And I'll just interject wherever I feel like. But let's have a look and get a tour. Because I've always wanted to go to like one of these type of data centers. Maybe one day Home Automation Lab can take me to one. But like, yeah, we get a VIP tour here. Bloomberg Original Styles. How's the music?
Stargate. Put that name down in your books, because I think you're going to hear a lot about it in the future. A new American company that will invest $500 billion at least in AI infrastructure.
The data centers are actually under construction. The first of them are under construction.
You just said it was a company. I don't think that's true. So, I've started already. Look, I'm sorry. Just let me do this quickly. Is Project Stargate, that was announced by Trump, a company or simply a way of securing investment in AI infrastructure on US soil? I'm sorry, I'm surprised. I didn't think it was a company. I thought it was just like an initiative. Project Stargate, announced by former President Donald Trump, is both a new company and a large-scale investment initiative. Project LLC is a joint venture formed by OpenAI, SoftBank, Oracle, and Abu Dhabi's MGX Fund, incorporated in Delaware. Oh, so it is a company. It's incorporated. The company plans to invest $500 billion in AI infrastructure across the US by 2029. The venture was formally announced in the White House. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman, yes. Oracle Chairman Larry Ellison, yes. And SoftBank CEO Masayoshi Son. Yeah, I remember that. So it's an initiative, but it's actually incorporated. It's a company. Stargate UAE is a parallel in Abu Dhabi. Project Stargate is a newly established company. It's a company? Right. It serves as a vehicle for significant private sector investment in AI, US AI infrastructure. It's not merely a policy framework, but a concrete corporate entity with substantial financial backing. Yeah, $500 billion. $500 billion, ladies and gentlemen. Has Trump been cooed? Yeah, I know. Why is this former? Chalk that down to a hallucination. Yeah, what a hallucination. Former president. Hey, well, it can't be trusted. Grok is funny. All right, sorry, back to it.
Construction in Texas, the Abilene location, which is our first location.
Abilene is a town on the western central plains of Texas. We kind of scratch and fight for everything good that comes our way.
I had people reaching out and they said, well, is the president going to come see you? And I said, well, he hasn't texted me yet, so.
I'm thrilled we get to do this in the United States of America. I think this will be the most important project of this era.
Welcome to Abilene, Texas. This is the site of Project Stargate, a very mysterious, much talked about, much speculated about project that brings together OpenAI, SoftBank, Oracle. If it all comes together, building after building on this red dirt behind me will be filled with chips that'll power the AI revolution.
What we're undergoing right now is sort of the largest infrastructure build in human history. It's going to create new ways of doing business, it's going to create new ways of invention, and it's going to really drive humanity forward.
I was in the real estate business. These buildings, these are big, beautiful buildings. They're going to employ a lot of people.
How do you personally grapple with the pace of it all?
It does feel like it's going very fast. I certainly think if I could like transport myself back 3 years ago, it would seem like unimaginable progress.
This is amazing, explosive growth of intelligence that's coming in our decade. Everything will change.
When Stargate was first announced, there was a lot of skepticism. A lot of people thought it's just too big to be true. So this is your very first look. Hello.
Hey, Emily.
Thank you so much for having us.
Welcome to Abilene.
People have been using grok as a meme everywhere. I assumed it was the name for some orc or goblin or some other brute. Come on, baby. CME, the world joke. How's the synthwave? Yeah, I was just thinking about that. Hey, if you're going to go all Stargate and you're going to get all like, AI, it's got to be synthwave style music. Hey, bit of cyberpunk, bit of retro wave.
It's so awesome to be here.
Yeah.
It's all happening.
I know.
How many people are on this site?
Today we have about 2,200 people on site.
The guy at the heart of
2,200 people producing surplus value, ladies and gentlemen. There it is.
the Stargate build in Abilene is Chase Lockmiller. He's the founder of Crusoe, the little-known data center startup overseeing this massive project.
We started construction here last June of 2024. This was just a complete barren field.
So
right?
there was nothing here in June?
There were a bunch of mesquite trees and bushes and brush.
Stargate is so mysterious. What actually is happening here?
What will eventually be here is 8 separate buildings, all containing very large clusters of fully interconnected GPUs.
Yep.
We're going to do a tour of some of that. This is going to get us around the whole 1,200-acre campus.
Hey, we're going on an adventure.
It's like getting around Jurassic Park.
I love that.
All right, let's go off-roading.
I feel like we're going on a data center safari.
It is much like a data center safari.
Crusoe's 8 planned buildings will hold up to 400,000 chips, which would make this one of the world's largest known compute clusters. The partners behind Stargate, OpenAI, Oracle, and SoftBank, have committed $100 billion to the project so far, and claim they're prepared to put in 5 times that as they expand to multiple sites. This first
$100 billion. What is this called? Abilene? That was called Abilene. Abilene. We are looking at the Abilene site for the mega data center in Texas. And they have mentioned that this will be one of the largest computer clusters on Earth. Can you confirm what are the biggest data centers in the world? Give us the top 5 and where they are. Let's see if it hallucinates on this one. I have weird coincidences at times. A long time ago, I intro swapped the Game of Thrones intro with Stargate intro music, and it kind of worked. Means nothing, but yeah, but to me, yes. That's hilarious. Oops. China Telecom, Inner Mongolia Information Park. Size 10.7 million square feet. Power capacity 150 megawatts. Largest data center globally. So what is that? 10 million square feet. I don't know what that is. can you redraft this answer and put all of the measurements from feet into meters and hectares? China Telecom, 99 hectare site. That's mental. The Citadel campus switch in Nevada. There you go. 650 megawatts power capacity. Far out. 66.9 hectares. Langfang in China. 58.5 hectares. Several hundred megawatts of power. China again, Harbin, China. And then in Norway, there you go, Kolos data center. There you go. Well, Abilene Stargate facility might not surpass these sites in its physical footprint. It's 1.2 gigawatts. Planned capacity puts it on par or ahead in terms of power, particularly for AI computation. This makes it not just one of the largest computer clusters on Earth, but also one of the most specialized and high performance. Interesting. All right, sorry, I'll stop distracting or getting distracted. You'd think with all... Oh, Steven's dead. Something happened and it just disappeared. If anyone's getting censored, by the way, please go over to the Discord and, like, you know, drop there and tell me in the censored comments part.
Our site in Abilene has been dubbed Project Ludicrous, as in...
Ludicrous speed! Ludicrous speed.
Which is appropriate. The whole thing is supposed to be done by mid-2026.
Are you round the clock, 24 hours a day?
We're round the clock. It is very much a 24/7 operation. We're trying to deliver on, you know, the fastest schedule that a 100 megawatt or greater data center has ever been built.
So why the ludicrous rush? Well, because Stargate is part of a much larger AI race. Companies like Microsoft, Meta, Google, Amazon, and xAI are all building AI data centers of their own at sites across the US and beyond.
Steven said, you think all the power they use, they'd stick a windmill on top of those places? Yeah, or at least some fucking solar panels or something. Jesus. Yeah, you reckon? You reckon? No, they're going to go nuclear. Baby. They got big plans when it comes to nuclear.
Each company wants to have the most capable AI being used by the most people, and they've committed tens of billions of dollars to make it happen.
There's no reason we won't scale up our computing 100,000 times in a few years.
I'm good for my 80 billion. I'm going to spend $80 billion building out Azure.
The downside of being behind is that you're out of position for like the most important technology for the next 10 to 15 years.
But beyond just making better AI, many tech leaders want to be the first to create AGI, Artificial General Intelligence, a super smart agent that can think and learn just like a human, if not better. Large language models like ChatGPT have gotten more capable as the technology's evolved, so the hope is that adding an astronomical amount of compute will make them even more capable.
Here's the AI logic, all right? And maybe Home Automation Lab can confirm this one for me, or if anyone who's quite the AI expert. But AGI, okay, general intelligence, is supposed to be measured on whether an AI can just simply do the things that a human can do, like generally. So it's got the intelligence and the sophistication to be able to carry on and like understand the world and navigate like a human would. Now, their general rule of thumb here in AI land, which is why DeepSeek was able to wipe off like, what was it, like billions and billions of dollars off the stock market, was that these AI companies were overinflated in their terms of their value in the stock market anyway, because their idea was always like, we need to just pump heaps and heaps of infrastructure and like pump heaps of money at this and build bigger data centers with more and more compute power. We need more power, and then we'll become like, you know, more powerful as a result, these companies, that is. And that was the logic. Like, it's just like bigger, faster computers, more power, and like we'll be able to pull off more AI stuff. And then so DeepSeek, yes, came along and kind of like shot them all, like caught them all with their pants down kind of thing, and shamed them all because it was able to do this stuff without the sophisticated chips and without the same level of computational power as like someone like OpenAI, something like OpenAI uses. And so like this is the general theory for these guys. Just we need more and more super computers. We need more clusters. And then we will be able to figure out general intelligence, artificial general intelligence. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm sure they're figuring out ways to produce this AI, like from a programming perspective. But like a big part of their ethos is just like, just pump more power into it. And like that just means money, let's be honest. They just want to pump money into this and produce these like fuck off data centers. But like this is a big part of the way these AI people think. One of the data centers I visited uses solar. The entire DC roof is covered in solar. But be clear, yeah, that's what I've heard as well. That's what they want to run this stuff off. But like, look at the expanse of roof space they've got there. Like, you know, they could get a lot of juice, and this is Texas that we're talking about here. You know, like they could get a lot off the roof. Like, might not be everything, but like we're talking about hectares and hectares of surface area. It's incredible. You're right, but the AGI definition has shifted. Now it's about PhD level autonomy. Give it a task, no prompting, just come back when it's done. Yeah, interesting. Yeah. Because like they've already started talking about like how AI systems, like the ones that they're working on that they might not have released yet in terms of large language models anyway, are working at PhD levels. But like they're not, like what you're saying, without the need for prompting. They don't have that agentic capacity yet where they can fully just go off and like, yeah, here's a problem, go solve it kind of thing. Like a human would just go off like with an objective or a mission statement from someone and just like do things. They need to be kind of managed, I guess you would say.
Take me back to the beginning before Stargate. What did you start seeing that made you realize we need more compute, more power, more connectivity, that you were hitting a limit and needed to scale?
We used to think a lot about the compute we would need to train the models. And what we didn't used to think about as much as how much people were going to use these models. Mm-hmm. I mean, we did think about it. It just turned out people want to use the models much more than we imagined. And a couple of years ago, maybe after the launch of GPT-4 in ChatGPT, it really started to hit like, oh man, this is like gone from a lot of compute to like the biggest infrastructure project in history. And out of that emerged Stargate.
Why call it Stargate?
It began as a code name, and sometimes code names stick.
But it means something, right?
The design of one of the very early layouts of a data center looked a little bit like Stargate from the show.
How did you get to talking with Masayoshi Son and Larry Ellison, and how did you all come together?
I did 2 kind of long trips around the world, and a lot of it was to talk to developers and governments, but a lot of it was also to just really try to like get my head around the supply chain. On one of those trips, I met with Masa, and we got to speaking about, you know, what it would take to do compute at this kind of scale.
Hi, Masa. It's so nice to see you. What conversations did you have with Sam that led to Stargate?
Well, we have a shared vision of AGI coming soon, and we need compute.
Of all the bets you could make, why this? Why Stargate?
Well, I believe in the vision that this AI, the AGI, will change the mankind's life in every aspect. And we are lucky to see this enormous revolution, and I'd like to be part of that. I get excited.
That's my
He
side.
looks so excited, don't you reckon? So excited. Like, this is the hype, okay? You got to be careful here. Because, like, somewhere in between, like, okay, we're going to produce AI that's going to revolutionize the human race, and like, you know, everyone, like, it's going to change life for everyone. Somewhere between that on this side and then like the other stuff, which is like, it's going to destroy humanity. It's going to wipe out the workforce, and like it may come, like it may become an actual problem, like an existential threat to us, or it might just be an absolute anticlimax and do fucking nothing. Like all of this technology, all of this hype, all of this money, and like they might not be able to figure out AGI or super intelligent AGI. So, super intelligent forms of AI. They might not be able to figure out either of those things. It's like some type of miracle or like the holy grail that will just never be obtainable. Somewhere between that. So like the unobtainable and like this idea that it's going to revolutionize humanity and like change the way that we relate to our world is probably the truth. Because like, remember, these guys are capitalists, okay? And they want to make money, and they want governments to subsidize their industries and give them lots of dollars and lots of investment and give them tax breaks and all that sort of stuff. They want to control this shit. They want to control this stuff, because this type of means of production will be, whether it becomes AGI or super intelligent or not, this stuff will help control capital for the next, like, you know, so many 100 years or more. AI is going to be integral. It's going to be as integral as every business having to be on the internet at the moment, or having a computer or a software department or something like that. Like AGI will become an integral part of the entire economy. And so these guys want to be on the forefront of that, and they want to own those means of production and sell that on to everybody else in the economy, governments and the private sector alike. And so they are very happy. They're very happy to peddle this story about how AI is going to revolutionize the human race, and like this is a turning point in human history like no other. They need to sell this story. They need it to be like this because they need to attract the money and the investment, and they need basically a green light of all of the world's governments to basically do whatever the hell they want to do. So just remember that. Like, somewhere between all the crazy hype on one end and the other is probably the truth of it. Just remember that. My take, they've cracked AGI. They wouldn't invest this much unless they believed they could build it. They just need the compute. Microsoft, OpenAI, and Google are all focused on it. So theory/planning. Well, there you go. So, but there's a lot of hype. There's a lot of hype around this. And like, they need the hype because they need to justify what they're doing. They definitely need to be able to justify all of this. This will be the equivalent of building a privately owned internet. I'm sure they see it that way too. I think that's a very good analogy for it, because that's exactly what's going on. These people aren't developing this infrastructure in lockstep exactly with the government. They're looking for the investment. They're looking for planning laws and environmental regulations to be thrown out the window so they can basically demolish entire habitats and wipe out local communities in order to build this stuff and benefit from it. Like Sam Altman was saying, like, read between the lines of what Sam was saying. He was just like, you know, we just thought about training it. We didn't think about how many people would want to use it, like, kind of thing. Now there are people, like, we need to get this to a bigger market so we can make a killing off it or continue to profit off it. So we need to be able to access that market. We need to break down that barrier. Indoctrination. I linked a video in the Discord about World AI and their orb device. But after watching that and the full keynote, I am a lot less worried about these people than I was. Ooh, interesting. I think I saw you talking about that. I'll have to check that one out. Might be something for the Twitch files. All right, let's continue with Masayoshi's general excitement over all this. Indoctrination. Like, they are so stupid that they will probably never achieve their goals of AI on purpose. Buyout. They could accidentally make AI. Yeah, it's an interesting point, isn't it? Or it may be the fact that, with this kind of intelligent AI that they have already, like PhD level understandings of the world, like this AI may develop something that, ends up being what we believe or what they speculate as AGI. It may be one of those kind of self-fulfilling prophecies from an AI perspective. It may produce the way towards a general form of intelligence, and then a general form of consciousness, which I'm way more interested in, to be honest. And like 4AS would know this. I've talked about this at length in our podcasts. Like, I'm more interested in what happens when AGI or something like that develops a level of consciousness, what the hell that means. Because you can't expect something that has a general level of intelligence or super intelligence not to have some level of consciousness as well. That's a way more interesting world for me. Or interesting philosophical question anyway. Imagine they do all this, then they just fence the place up and make it private property, doing who knows what in there. Well, it's very likely, actually. Either way, they clearly have no idea what they're doing or messing with, potentially. That's what I mean about the consciousness thing. Like, it's way more interesting to know, like, if this thing becomes, like, they're talking about general intelligence in the sense that, like, you just give it something to do and it goes away and does it. Like, it does its thing kind of thing. It's like a human. It's potentially independent. You just need to give it a problem or a task. Like, it's going to do stuff. Like, it's going to go away and complete that objective. And like, to what level of oversight do you have? Is it unpredictable? Is it uncontrollable? Is it explainable? These are three massive questions in AI safety that are nowhere near the level of progress and speed at which these guys are trawling through their, Stargate projects and all that sort of stuff. So we got the answer on Stargate, by the way. It was pretty uneventful. He's like, oh yeah, the room we used to work did look like Stargate. Boo. What a lame explanation that was.
I came to celebrate your winning and promised that we will invest $100 billion. And you told me, oh, Masa, go for 200. Yeah. Now I came back with 500.
Explain the math to us. How does it all add up to needing $500 billion?
Well, that covers the capacity we think we need for the next few years, given our growth projections. The interesting question is, if we had